It's another episode of Social Distancing at the Chamber. As always, we are joined by the Chamber's President and CEO, Glenn Hammer, a little segment sometimes referred to as Happy Hour with Hammer. Hammer, the guests, they are lining up to get on this show. We have another state public policy leader. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Well, we've got a great one tonight. Steve Trussell, who's the head honcho of not one, but two very important groups in Arizona, the Arizona Rock Products Association and the Arizona Mining Associations, with us here tonight. But maybe even more important, Steve's a model. Steve and myself, me much less frequently, rotate for some suits we were able to get at Brothers Taylor's. So it's always fun to see in the Capital Times in a very snazzy suit.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it. If you notice, I put this jacket on for you, even in quarantine. Can't let the look go stale on me.
No, you're doing your part. I just can't. The fact that I have a shirt on and I'm not wearing pajamas, I'm making some progress on the program. But Steve, just wanted to first get your thoughts on, two vital sectors for the state's economy and for the nation are mining and all the different industries related to the rock products area. Would just love to get your thoughts where things stand in Arizona.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Glenn. And first, let me start by saying the Chamber has done an excellent job of keeping the industry sector and subsectors connected. We just are so grateful for that. You've hosted continuous calls, association check-ins. I mean, my gosh, all of the calls with our congressional delegation has been most helpful in terms of understanding the relief packages as they come out and so forth. And getting updates from Ducey, always helpful. And thank you for the work that you've been doing, making sure that our policy leaders understand what's needed in Arizona, especially right now, right on the cusp of, kind of a phasing into reopening Arizona. So critical work you're doing. Your staff is amazing, and thank you for that. But
thank you.
As far as the mining industry goes, Glenn, as you know, we're the copper state. Aggregate is also incredibly important. And just as an aside, just kind of an interesting side note, copper is biostatic. So one of the things that we're really promoting right now is use of copper. If you don't already have brass doorknobs and copper and so forth implements, there's adhesives that you can use and so forth that help to kill because quite frankly, bacteria and these viruses, they won't survive on it. So anyway, just a little aside, a lot of people are like, what is biostatic? I didn't even know that. That's great news. So, and it could actually be in a liquid form, in solution. So lots of different ways to attack this thing, and mining is even providing those solutions as well. But mining industry is staying checked in. We're having regular meetings, business as usual. Let me say business is unusual because quite frankly, we have to take very different measures and methods in our approach to things, making sure that people are socially distanced, that we're taking a very careful look at everyone, making sure that they are not showing symptoms, and if they are, how we're going to deal with that, and so forth. But we are critical and essential for obvious reasons. We're the tip of the supply chain, both on the construction aggregate side as well as the mineral side, and so we want to make sure that we keep that material flowing for obvious reasons. I mean, I think about the work that's being done on our roads right now and how critical that is. It's one of the benefits of, quarantine is when we do have to travel, traffic is light, but what I am seeing is a lot of work out there, people taking, all of the precautions seriously. The mining industry takes our safety record very seriously. We have to. And so we want to make sure that we are doing everything right, but at the same time providing essential infrastructure for the state of Arizona to get those goods and services for COVID-19 relief, where they need to go safely.
And you mentioned something that's really important that I just want people to understand, that in terms of the essential services, from our vantage point, and I get the chance to interact with my brothers and sisters in the 49 or so other state chambers from around the country, what Governor Ducey put out in terms of essential services and activities, that's considered the gold standard. And my understanding is for the areas under your jurisdiction, it allowed those activities to continue in a safe manner, consistent with CDC and state health guidelines.
That's exactly right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because some of the work that we did early on was focused on the White House and making sure that they understood that while the production aspect was critical, that the mining aspect was also critical. We had to have that production, and it wasn't clear in the CISA guidance for essential and critical infrastructure that was in there. So we worked hard to get that done, and I want to give a shout out to Senator McSally. She was our champion throughout that whole thing. So thank you for having her, doing regular check-ins with the members. I can't thank her enough for her leadership there, but and the governor's office and all the work that they've done to make sure that everyone that they knew they were going to need was included.
Steve, you mentioned this idea of an essential service, and the average Arizonan might say, well, of course, we're the copper state. But as you mentioned, some of your colleagues across the country, they kind of stumbled out of the gate when they were defining their own state level essential services. And we didn't have that same disruption here in Arizona.
I'm just reminded, on our state seal, our copper dome, and, certainly the star on the flag of Arizona is a stark reminder of how important mining is to this state. So we didn't have to educate the governor's office. They knew exactly what they needed to do there to keep, and again, making sure that the tip of the spear or the beginning of the supply chain was covered, but that they were doing it responsibly.
Right.
We talk about copper and other minerals, commodities. Trade becomes really important, and would just love your thoughts. We've got good stuff with U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. The relationship with China, it's fair to say, is strained. But how the whole world is doing really affects the price of certain goods like copper. I mean, when the world is doing well, the price is higher.
That's right. And we have seen a dip. So the coronavirus, COVID-19, this whole incident has only exacerbated an already existing issue, as you pointed out. What that new normal is going to look like has yet to be seen. But, certainly our companies are bracing for that, effect. I think on the aggregate side, because I also represent the Rock Products Association and the producers of asphalt, concrete, cement, and aggregates, construction products, that right now, while we're still working, we will continue to see some progress. I mean, as well as anyone, Glenn and Garrick, that we went into this as one of the strongest economies in the nation, and here we are. So we've got a backlog, and that's a good thing, but there's a cliff coming, and what those impacts will be. I mean, to put things in perspective, from a construction standpoint, we're looking at over a $500 million impact, and that's what ADOT is saying just in the today. That could grow exponentially. What's happening with oil and that, I apologize, I just had a little glitch there. But what's happening with the oil and gas market and so forth. So lots of things happening right now that are exacerbating this situation.
Transitioning a little bit through the Rock Products Association, I believe you just conducted a poll. Governor Ducey and his handling of coronavirus and his standing with the people of Arizona. And those numbers were off the charts in terms of the governor's performance and the confidence that Arizonans have in him. Could you talk a little bit about some of the findings and your takeaway, and just your thoughts about conducting that poll in the first place?
Well, certainly, it's actually, I can't take credit for the poll. It was a memo that I received from Bill McInturf, who conducted a poll. Bill, as you know, is with
Public Opinion Strategy.
Thank you, Public Opinion.
We use them a lot. We love those guys.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're, nationally renowned. He's a founding member of the firm. 10 years he's been working with NBC and with the Wall Street Journal. As you know, he does some high-level stuff, and he had sent me on the 24th a memo that characterized where the governor currently stands. I mean, this is just the end of last week that we're receiving this information. And first of all, Arizona has confidence in our governor's ability to lead this state. And, their confidence level is at 63%, according to the poll. And secondary to that, in terms of his handling of this particular issue that we're facing with COVID-19, 71% approval rating. And that's amongst Republicans at 80%, independents at about 61%, and believe it or not, Democrats at 67% approval rating. So I think most people recognize that they wouldn't wish this issue on anyone, and that, they respect the fact that he's making good, informed decisions. He's communicating regularly. And like I said, he's got excellent information and experts all around him. I can't say enough about Dr. Kara Christ, and certainly Major General Michael T. McGuire, who's the head of the Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, all the work that they're doing throughout the state to make sure that Arizonans remain safe and that they're sufficiently informed.
Yeah, well said, Steve. Appreciate all those comments.
You bet.
Glenn and Steve, I'm curious to get your take on this, because this is really, throughout this last 6-7 weeks, we've seen an emergence, even a reemergence of the country's governors. And we love our delegation, and there's some great members of Congress on the Hill. But Steve, why don't you go first? And Glenn, I'd love to get your take on this. Just talk about the importance of having a chief executive at state level who understands the need to balance the needs of the economy with public health in all sectors of Arizona life.
Well, I would just lead with this statement. It is very clear to me, and it's been well over a month now that the executive declarations began, and I got to tell you, it is very clear that, one, he's interested in what folks are thinking out there. The communications with and from the governor's office have been free flowing. There has been a lot of outreach. I know they have a lot on their plate, and they're dealing with trying to make sure that we have proper PPE and certainly testing and health and safety, make sure that, healthcare community is ramped up and so forth. But at the same time, checking in to make sure, that essential industries are have what they need to be successful. And at the same time, again, making sure that we are ready when it's time to reopen Arizona. And I believe Arizona is going to bounce back big, because that's how we do things here in this great state. And so having that sort of leadership, understand, he's a business owner. Let's call it what it is. This guy gets exactly what we're facing. He gets what it's going to take to ramp back up, and he's going to make the right decisions for the right reasons.
Glenn, I know you agree.
I do, and I'll add just a couple of comments. Is that he is a business person. He gets it. He lived this. He cares. He understands this at a level that very few of us, even in Chamberville, really understand. So it's you could tell it's personal when he's thinking through this. And I'll also say, on the completely agree with all of Steve's comments about Dr. Christ and General McGuire. But geez, we're super lucky to have Sandra Watson as the head of the Arizona Commerce Authority, Debbie Johnson at Arizona Office of Tourism. They're working this super hard, and as Steve, as you said, just in constant communication with the business community as to how we could safely reopen parts of the economy that are on ice at this point.
Yeah, agreed.
Steve, we just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join Glenn and me on this humble little YouTube show that we do every night. We love working with the Mining Association and the Rock Products Association, all the jobs that your industries create across the state. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. It was an honor.
Glenn, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Sounds great. Thank you.